Sojourn has always had a desire to be faithful both to the neighborhoods where we find ourselves as well as the nations. And so we're seeking to practice a way of life that is faithful to where we are, and yet at the same time recognizing that we serve a global God. And we want to be a church that aggressively sends. And we find that the way we can send most faithfully is by being a sending church locally.
I like the terminology, living sent. What does it mean to live sent? All believers are called to live sent. And then I think a term that we kind of really enjoy, we think it's helpful, is the sending church. So the concept of the sending church is we are a church that is living sacrificially to send out our own people. But living sent or being the sending church is also calling your everyday member to be a missionary. There's a lot of different ways to say it, but the concept is, as Christ followers, the commission He gave to us is that all believers are to go out to proclaim the gospel, to disciple new believers, and to see multiplication happen. And that's what we want to see our church here, every member to take ownership, that they live sent.
One of the first and foremost things that they did was call us to be planted and to be intentional about where we were currently.
A lot of that is true for any believer who's a part of this church. It's not something special because we said, we want to go live overseas one day.
So that's a concept that we always want to develop, we always want to talk about, that evangelism is not something you show up on Thursday nights to do. Evangelism is a way of life.
To encourage people to get involved in any type of ministry or any type of just outreach, or just to get involved in your church, I think it takes just pushing past your comfort zone. Just beg God that you would have courage and boldness to push through that. You got joy waiting for you, just step into that. That's the biggest thing I think we've come to experience, is that there's no greater joy than being a part of what God's doing. It's just like you get front row seats, the greatest show in the world. I mean,
amen. I pray that you hear this and see this and say with me, amen. Let me ask you, just personally, who lives like that? I mean, honestly, let's get down to the skinny. Who really lives like that? Whether you're looking at the first piece that speaks primarily to international service, or the second piece that shows a church very much like ours, small church, nowhere America, just real people living life together, trying to love Jesus and be the real deal. I mean, they just ask you, practically and theologically, who lives like that? Let me tell you the answer. Lovers and followers of Jesus Christ. That's who lives like that. Lovers and followers of Jesus the Christ live like that. My prayer is that you and I will come to see that Jesus intends all of those who truly love Him and follow Him to live like that. In fact, I would go so far as to say to you, it is His litmus test of love.